Welcome to the Arsenal Show. We are live. I'm joined by Steve, Kate, and Jerome Marks. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Very good.
Excellent.
Good. There is plenty to discuss tonight. We'll be talking about Gabriel Jesus' comments. He's steely determination. He is a mentality monster once you hear these comments. We're going to be going over the 4-1 victory against Crystal Palace. We're going to be asking, does Mikel Arteta struggle in Europe? Is it a problem? And we'll be talking about all the latest coming out of Arsenal as well. First and foremost, Jerome, you was not here the other day for the post-match reaction. What was your thoughts on Arsenal's 4-1 victory? And what do we call it? We call it in honour of Patrick Vieira.
Yeah. Yeah, they started singing his song after about a minute of the game.
Yeah.
The Arsenal fans. Yeah. Thankfully, it was a pretty dominant display overall. A couple of, maybe 2 or 3 minutes where there was a bit of slight worry after they scored their goal. But we scored again quite soon after that. And, once it was 4-1, then that was it. But at 3-1, they had that chance when Zaha hit it just past the post on his left foot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Come
if
off
that goes in,
Hill.
Yeah, if that goes in, you've gone from 3-0, like super comfortable, to it's like sort of panic stations. But overall, now they played very well, and yeah, perfect way to go into this international break. Put ourselves in a good position.
And any standout performances for you?
I think the whole team played pretty well. To be fair, Ben White and Saka were different class down the right, as always, really. If I had to single players out, it'd probably be those two, especially in the first half. Especially, yeah.
All right, Steve. Now the dust has settled. Any more to add on the game the other day? Any more to add on the game the other day?
No, mate, not really. It was an emphatic performance. Like I think I said, we started off a little bit slow. I thought. I thought Crystal Palace were better than they was against Manchester City. I look when they played Manchester, it was really dire. To be fair, and I really did think that we'd absolutely give them an absolute hiding at the Emirates, and I think it could have easily turned into that. No way did sort of Manchester City give them the type of problems that we did, which is, I suppose, is a good thing going forward. But no, it was an excellent result. So like Jerome said, it's very, very difficult to single out people because there was so many good performances on the day.
All right, I'm going to do it for you. Rob Holding. Since you don't want to play this game,
you was waiting
Rob
for
Holding.
build up. I was building up to it. This was me sort of like moving in. I had this really good sort of introductions, getting into it slow, and then I was going to come in with Bobby Holdinho.
Bobby Holdinho.
He was man of the match for me. I mean, you could pick, like Jerome said, Saka and Ben White were absolutely outstanding on the day.
Yeah.
For me, if I had to pick one, Rob Holding, absolutely incredible. Never thought he had it in him. Bit similar to like the way Reece Nelson had his cameo performance against Bournemouth. When he come on, I didn't realise he had what he had in his locker. But Rob Holding, you've got to give him his props because he did it for 90 minutes. I think he made one mistake during the whole game, but I can pick out one mistake that Saliba or Gabriel did every match, but we're not going to call him out for having a bad game. I thought he was absolutely incredible. And I had to give him my man of the match. For the out of all of them, but I thought Partey again just incredible in the midfield. Granit Xhaka, I just thought was absolutely outstanding again. Incredible performance from Xhaka. I thought he was up there with Holding on the day. Martinelli's back to his best. And yeah, it was interesting. I'll tell you what was funny. I mean, I was watching the football show on the Monday morning, and they was going over it, and they was talking about Wilfried Zaha, and they was having a go at him on how like he didn't look bothered in the game, and yeah.
Game.
But the thing was, they was looking, they was concentrating on his body language during the match, but it was quite funny because Stephen Warnock was the one saying it, and he said, "Look at him when Saka scores this goal, and he's doing all the hard work, but when he scores the goal, so Zaha's like, yeah, as if to say like." Well, that's like as if he wanted them to score. It was like, yeah, 1-0, that's all right. when he done all his skills for the goal, you know, he was like, did it. He was beating Ben White a couple of times. He cut it inside, did fantastic, and was missing. And Stephen Warnock's going, he don't look bothered about missing. And I'm thinking, he's an Arsenal fan, this geezer. Yeah, there's something in his head where he's meaning to do it. And he went through about 4 or 5 occasions where he did this. He was literally concentrating on his whole body language through the whole match. He's like, look, he ain't bothered. I think he went, if I was his manager, if I was like that new Benny McCarthy manager, he said, I would have been fuming with Zaha. Look at his reaction there. He don't care if he misses. He don't care if the other team scores. I thought it was hilarious. I
mean, I feel like he's clutching at straws there because Wolf Zaha was good the other day. I mean, Crystal Palace weren't great, but if there was a player that was a problem, it was Zaha and probably Elise on the right. And now he was a little bit more quieter, but still, those were the two dangers. It's just, I think someone summed it up perfectly. One of the commentators, they said that Crystal Palace don't seem to be playing with any sort of direction. They're just, it's just like hit and hope. Like Joe Ward was a prime example of that. Every time he got the ball, he would just hoof it forward. And it was kind of get it to Zaha and see what he can do. And it worked a couple of times. They managed to score from one. They hit the post. But I mean, if that's the sort of direction they're going in towards the end of the season, they're going to go from 12th to in a proper relegation dogfight.
What, Roy Hodgson's not going to come and say?
I mean, yeah, he could do, but if they've got that current manager there.
I'll tell you what, it was absolute farce him sacking Patrick Vieira for Roy Hodgson. But I tell you what, at the end of the day, like us oldies, you know, there's hope for us all when you're getting like a 75-year-old man, you know, controlling the football. But you know,
I don't understand it.
I don't feel old anymore. I don't feel old anymore. I'm like, yeah, go on, Roy.
Roy Hodgson coming back. Jerome, Rob Holding. I know you mentioned Ben White, but Rob Holding put in a performance that surprised quite a few people.
Yeah, he was definitely better than expected. There was the first thing he did. I think one of the first things he did,
clamp someone.
he went in hard on someone, and I think or might have been something else as well.
That's when they hit the post.
It looked like he was going to come away with the ball, and it didn't go his way. And one of the guys behind me, started really being positive to Holding. Oh, that's brilliant! I said, don't give it the kiss of death because he's going to do something dodgy soon. So just keep quiet. Don't get too overexcited. And then I turned around to someone else and said, do you reckon Saliba's going to get back in the team?
Bobby Aldinio's here to stay.
The Alice band has given him some magic, mate. Some magic. To be fair to him, on his side, he had obviously Odward as the centre forward and Zaha. They're pretty dangerous players. Yeah.
Odward's
non-existent.
He couldn't have done more than what he did, basically. And thankfully, he was surrounded by most of the first team. Really, I think that makes a difference.
Yeah.
He wasn't playing with the second choice centre midfielder, the second choice right winger. He was in the first team.
Yeah,
I think it's maybe when we come on to talking about Europe, when you start adding a few of the fringe players, that's when it becomes a little bit trickier.
But
no,
fair point.
Fair play to him.
Because if you look at some of the results where some of the displays he's had, where he's been paired up next to Gabriel in the Europa League, he's been a steady Eddie. But for me, Rob Holding's been steady for the last season and a half, 2 seasons, coming off the bench, shoring things up. And yeah, it was nice to see him have a very good performance the other day, because he's one of those players that in the changing rooms, in the dressing rooms, he's bigging everyone up, and it must get a bit tedious sitting on that bench week in, week out. So yeah, big up to Bobby Holdinho. Arsenal. This is one thing I want to get onto before we move on to anything else. Erik ten Hag. Steve, we spoke about it briefly last night, but I wanted to bring it up again. Erik ten Hag tries to make a claim, Jerome, that Arsenal have had no injuries. He said that Manchester United have had to deal with a lot of injuries. And at the end of his statement, he said, and he didn't need to bring up Arsenal. He said, unlike some teams like Arsenal, where they've having us to deal with injuries all season. What are your thoughts on that statement, Jerome?
Well, it's obviously factually incorrect, obviously. And look, I know maybe journalists maybe don't want to ask certain questions, but I don't know if any journalist pulled him up on it, because he's just stating something that's not right. Like I don't need to go over it now. Like we all know the players that we've been missing. I mean, I'm sure he watched the World Cup, so he knows about Jesus. Like there's multiple players that we've missed. So I'm surprised, to be honest, because I actually quite like, for a Man United manager, I actually quite like Ten Hag, like the way he speaks, how he deals with the media. I actually quite like how he comes across. And for me, saying that about a United manager, that doesn't normally happen. Normally, I dislike all of them. And for him to say that, it's like he's not that it matters, but he's like gone down a bit in my sort of estimation. And it just shows that we're a threat. We're a threat to him, because he wouldn't say that about, I don't know, a mid-table team. So yeah,
I agree. Steve, I know we went over it yesterday, but briefly, thoughts on Ten Hag's absolute nonsense statement to say that Arsenal haven't had any injuries?
Yeah, jealousy is a terrible thing, isn't it? And I think that's where that comes from. Just jealousy. I mean, it was like, I think when I was watching it, it was like, what are you talking about? Where have you come from? I think through that whole interview, he wanted to get it out.
Yeah,
right?
no, he did.
He wanted to get it out through the whole interview, the whole 10 minutes or whatever he was doing his interview for. And he thought, well, I'm running out of time now, right? Let's quickly get it in. Let's quickly get the Arsenal thing in. And like Jerome said, it's absolute nonsense, right? Absolute, utter and total nonsense. And to be fair, I know what Jerome said. I don't like him. And he's gone down in my estimation even more now. I've not been a fan of him. He bores the shit ass out of me when he talks. Right? He's one of these people that wears the same clothes every week. I mean, I suppose Arteta does. But he's just, when he talks, you're like, oh God. Some managers from other clubs you like, well, Pep or Klopp or even Marco Silva. Or you could go through loads of managers in the Premier League, and you think, and you're listening to what they say. He talks, I just want to go out of the room. He pours the shit out of me, really. But just going back to what he says. I mean, as I said, it's total nonsense. I think it's just jealousy, and I think he's just showing. Really, he's just shown his true colours, and he's just total disrespected Arsenal as a football club, and he's made himself look very silly. And it would have been nice for one of the journalists to come out. Look, you mentioned it. You mentioned it yesterday. If he hasn't, look at the players he's bought. Look at the players he's bought. We can't help that you've gone and bought a load of tosh. It's not our fault you've gone and done that. Yeah, he's brought Casemiro and Martinez in. They're really good players. But
they paid. This is what I don't understand. When I know we've gone off a bit. We've gone off a bit. But when United fans say that Casemiro is the signing of the season,
it's a liability.
I think to myself, when you talk about signings of the season, and now I'm starting to see memes or posts with Anthony underrated. When you talk about underrated or signing of the season, value comes into it. Now, when you pay £70 million for a 31-year-old and he's playing the way Casemiro is playing, that's what you're getting. You're getting your value for money. That is not a sign of the season. Sign of the season, you've got to go on value and how well they've done this season. Now, paying £70 million for a 31-year-old is not what I call as great value. Do you know what I mean? Paying £90 million for a player who's had one decent season in Holland is not great value. Like you can't state that someone's underrated when you paid £90 million for him and he can't even run past the fullback. Like, it's ludicrous.
Yeah.
Ludicrous.
And you so think Manchester United. Look, sorry, Jerome, but Manchester United are a massive football club. Look, there's no doubt about that. They're absolutely enormous. And you've got a manager who's come in and bought in to stick up front to apparently go and win a title in their title challenge, right?
Yeah.
Wout Weghorst. What planet? What? And he's got the cheek to come out, and this is why I can't listen to the guy, because he just utter rubbish. That's all that's come out of his mouth, and it's total jealousy. 19 points in front, plus 6 goal difference. Goal difference for Manchester United. We've got plus 42. Do me a favour, and you're trying to pick out the fact that they've had an odd injury. It's nothing to do with injuries, mate. It's the fact that your squad's rubbish. That's all it is.
Yeah, and they were the ones that got the crumble memes out, the crumble pictures out. They had them ready. Those crumble pictures. You ain't got them out since, have you? You ain't got them out since, have you? All right. We're going to be going.
I enjoyed that.
Honestly, I had to get it off my chest. Let's discuss this one. Arsenal out of Europe, out on penalties to Sporting Lisbon. Jerome, do you feel there's a problem in Europe? Is it something that Mikel Arteta can't really handle yet? He's got to still try to get more experience as a European Cup manager. What's your thoughts on it?
I don't think there's a massive problem with Europe. Not this season anyway. I think he's been sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I think his selections have shown that. I mean, if you ask a fan about what sort of team would you play in Europe, I think you get different opinions from everyone. Like, no one knows. Do you play your full strength? Do you just play a really weakened team? It's really hard to decide. Do you give players a go to get them fit, give them a chance to play in the first team? I think it's obvious we were not going all out to win the Europa League. I think that's quite obvious by the selection. I think when it comes to Champions League next season, we'll see something different. But I just think it's a really hard decision to make in terms of the team, what players you pick. So I don't think there's too much of a problem. I think we haven't got a squad that's strong enough to compete in Europe. Definitely not the Champions League, and obviously not the Europa League as well this season.
So we need to go out and invest for the Champions League going forward.
I think that's clear. Look, we couldn't. I guess no one expected us to mount a challenge for the league this season. So they probably thought to go full pelt for Europa League this season to try and get in the Champions League spaces. And obviously, because of how this season's gone, it's been like, wow, we've actually got a chance here for the league. So we've got to be a bit more careful. I am surprised he played like Ramsdale in the last round. I'm a bit.
It was kind of mixed messages, weren't it?
I said that,
didn't get it
I
because
said I'd play Ramsdale.
if you play your first choice goalie, for me, you might as well play your whole first team. If you're
it did feel that way. It did feel that way. It was like you started essentially your strongest back four minus Ben White. You had a midfield mixture.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's backfired big time because Tomiyasu's obviously done for the season. But everyone probably would have played him. Like he's one of the players where everyone probably would have said, Tomiyasu will play this game. So Saliba, it's tricky. It only looks like a bad decision when they get, if they get injured, and unfortunately, it's happened. We don't know how long he's out for yet. So
I think they're keeping that one under wraps, aren't they?
Yeah, basically, I think the last few seasons, Europe was last season was a big disappointment. But this season, I'm not too concerned about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Right. Steve, out of Europe, do you think it's a problem for Mikel Arteta in terms of he's not quite European ready, we could say?
Yeah, I think he knows that. I think he knows we're not European ready, and I think maybe that goes to show in the selection that he picked for the game against Sporting, because like you said, it was bitty, and if you are going to go play your full strength defence, and then like play Zinchenko and Gabriel Saliba and Ramsdale, you might as well go the whole hog. And I think one of the things that I said, I mean, I didn't like the fact that we pulled Gabriel Jesus at half time. It was like, that seemed to be something that was arranged before the game. And you don't do that if you're that bothered. Do you know what I mean? You don't sit in the dressing room or in training the day before, and you don't go up to Jesus and say, well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you the first 45 and then Leo after that we'll bring you on at half time. That's not a sign of someone who's really bothered about winning it. It's a sign of what will be. We'll give it a go. We've got a team that can beat Sporting out there. We'll do that. But if we do lose and we do go out, then no big deal. We can just concentrate on the Champions League. And I think that's what they did. And I think it's absolutely right. I think, as I said, like Arteta knows that, we've got got a strong squad. Sorry, not got a strong squad, and we need a few players in the summer. And ideally, on two fronts, we probably haven't got one to compete. Look, I mean, the Europa League and even the Champions League, at the end of the day, once you get to the knockout stage, it's a cup competition, and anything can sort of happen. It is a bit of a glorified cup competition because you've got two legs. That's fair enough. But it's if you look at the Sporting game overall, Sporting were excellent. They were very good, and we didn't play too bad either. And we never lost the game. It went down to penalties. So I think it was just one of those nights. We could have won that game. We could have lost that game. We could have gone through to the next round. It could have affected us. I don't think the fans were bothered. I don't think Arteta was that bothered. I don't think the players were that bothered, to be fair. You could see them the next day in training. They was laughing and smiling and joking. It was like, yeah, come on, we're going to go and get the 3 points against Palace and go 8 points clear against Man City. Let's concentrate on that. And they did. But we certainly need some players coming in the window.
I was going to say, what kind of player do you think Arsenal needs to bring? What level of player, what positions do you think Arsenal need to reinforce for Champions League football next season?
I think we need a right-sided player to help Saka out. I think we need someone on like a Diaby or someone of that ilk if we can get him to come to the club. And I still think that we need a couple of midfield players. Probably one like maybe number of sort of 8 sort of stroke player who's good, who can go forward, and also someone on similar to Thomas Partey. I mean, let's face it. Jorginho's there, and he's great, but he's been put on a short-term contract. He ain't the future.
No,
Mohamed El Neni isn't the future.
no.
Samuel
Again, he's
Lokonga, I think, will be sold.
okay.
Right, so I think that's three midfield players who you can't rely on for like if for long periods if they're injured. So I think you've still got. I think like someone like Martin Zubimendi, someone like Declan Rice, they'll go for something like that, and then depending on how Reece Nelson performs, how he'll do, going probably the rest of this season, that's when they'll probably look at whether they're going to bring in a sort of a right-sided, like a Neto or a Diaby, someone like that. And we'll probably need a right back as well. I'm hearing we're going to need a right back, so I think he's someone like the young kid Ivan Fresneda, someone like that. So I think that's where we'd be looking. The other areas, I think we're fine.
And the level needs to be competition, not just squad players. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, someone who's literally. I think what's very important. We have to look at it. We know that Xhaka and Partey have still got. They're still young men. They've still got plenty of time in them. But there's players at the moment who we have to go and get. Players like Declan Rice and Zubimendi. Yeah. And we have to convince them to come. Players of that ilk. Look, City would. They convince players to come of that ilk. To sort of. And when they're at age of 24s and 25s, everybody's going to be after. Once this summer's over, where do you look after that for a top centre midfield player? Zubimendi wants to leave. Declan Rice is going to leave. Bellingham's going to leave. After that, you've got to get them now because there'll be no one left the following summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that ilk, that type of quality.
What position do you think we need to do something in the Champions League next season, or at least get through the group stage?
Jerome,
sorry, Jerome.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah.
Well, I think we need two centre midfielders.
Yeah.
To be honest. And that's probably going to cost a lot of money.
Like serious competition level centre midfielders.
I'll tell you why. Youngsters. As good as Jorginho's been for us, as good as Jack has been this season, he's been brilliant. There's no denying that. But when Partey is not in that team, your midfield is just completely different. So it's just the thought of him not being there sends shivers down my spine when Partey's not there. So I think you need also, as you said, El Nene, Jorginho, Jack are there. They might have a couple of years left, but maybe no more than that at Arsenal, especially El Nene and Jorginho. So I think two centre midfielders, that would be the priority for me. We probably need another centre back if Holding's not there, perhaps, and then maybe a winger. But you're looking at serious money unless you go out and you focus on the maybe defence in the midfield and you do like a free in the wingers. It won't happen. But someone like Zaha who can play across the front three won't cost you a transfer fee. I know it won't happen, but I don't know where they're going to get all this money from because it's just Arsenal get linked with a player and you're talking whoever they are 50, 60 million minimum. And if we need 4 players, I think I need to prioritise basically.
Well, they had a budget, didn't they? They've got a budget for the summer. That budget was set. That budget was set anyway. And you've got to remember that Arsenal were willing to pay 70 million already for Caicedo. Yeah, they were really willing to pay that. So when you think of they bought in Jorginho and Trossard, that they haven't taken a large lump out of that 70 million. Also, I think you get around about 50 million, 60 million for qualifying for the Champions League, plus the budget. So they're going to have a few quid. They're going to have a few quid spending.
Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
What would you do with Tierney? Because if Zinchenko's not in that team, how do you feel about not having Tierney?
I sell Kieran Tierney that he's going to be an integral part of the squad next season. Like he's going to be important. I think that, and I said this in the summer when we bought Zinchenko. I said that it was a statement signing, not because of the player, but because of the level of player. Because you've got a top class Premier League, international level left back in Kieran Tierney, who we have been lauding for the last few seasons. Yeah, to bring in someone like Zinchenko to fight competition for him, that was a massive statement for me. You've got levels at your as your first left back and as your competition left back. There's hardly any drop off for me. It's a different type of football, and I still stand by the fact that I think that we do need to play certain players in certain games that suit the style. I've seen it 3 or 4 games this season where Zinchenko didn't work, and Kieran Tierney would have been perfect for the job. Newcastle's a prime example because they sit in deep. That midfield's just too congested. It doesn't work. They sit 10 people behind the ball. Where's Zinchenko going to find space? Stretch them. Up and down that wing is what Kieran Tierney does. Southampton's another team. They sit in. They sit deep. We couldn't get anything out of them.
Yeah.
Kieran Tierney, up and down, stretches them. So I think he's got to start using his squad a bit more. Because otherwise, okay, this season, great, all well and good, everyone's still buzzing. It will get to a couple of seasons down the line when there's certain players who are top class players and not seeing double figures in games in a season, and then they start kicking up a stink or wanting to leave. So it's a tough one, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most everything you said there, Kears, word for word. I think Tierney's integral to the Arsenal squad, and I'd hate him to go, and I don't think he should go. I was absolutely made up for him the weekend because his cameo performance against Crystal Palace, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he defended well when he come on a couple of times. He got his assist for the goal. Seeing that smile on his face and the players going over to him, it must have given him a great big lift. But look, Kieran Tierney's got to. I'd be disappointed in Kieran Tierney if he left, because it would not. I love Kieran Tierney, but I would have to say, he should be happy where he is. He's at one of the biggest clubs in Europe. He's at the team who's now going to challenge for Champions League titles. Arsenal are only going one way. To leave would be a ridiculously stupid thing to do for me.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I'd be upsetting him. I think Steve Clark mentioned, in the week, didn't he? He said they was asking about Kieran Tierney and and the game time and stuff like that. And Steve Clark turned around and met the Scotland manager, and he went, look, he said Kieran Tierney knows where he is. He knows he's at a top level club, and he knows that you have to fight for your place, and you have to, if you want to be at a top level club, where's he going to go? Newcastle. Newcastle ain't winning no league. Like people keep saying, "Oh, Newcastle are going to win." No, they're not. They're not going to win the league. They're not. And if you're Mikel Arteta, you've got to do everything in your power to make Kieran Tierney feel wanted. 100%. And you've got to give him games. So what do? You sell Tierney. You've got to go and find another Tierney. Where?
At that level. No.
Yeah, at that level. You're not gonna find him. And that goes really with the same. I know we're not talking about him, but that goes with the same with Emil Smith Rowe. You've got to
100%.
You've got to
100%.
What would be the point in selling Emil Smith Rowe? And then you've got to go and get some who's replaces. See, this is the thing. People do look like, oh, we've got to replace him on the pitch. We need a midfield player. The bench, when you're at a top level club and you're going for trophies now every single year like Arsenal, the players on the bench are massively important. You only got to look at Liverpool and Man City and what they've won over the years and their benches. We're saying it now with Man City. The players that are just sitting there on the bench that come on every now and then. They swap, they change. Jack Grealish, fantastic attitude. Sat on the bench on and off for a year. He waited for his chance. Now you can't get him out the side. He's
he's a prime example. To be fair, is Jack Grealish is a player who got bought for 100 million, sat on the bench, like Steve said, at Man City. Had to bide his time, fit into the Pep way of playing, which it's probably what you got to do at Arsenal. You've got to fit into the way that Arteta plays. It's not. I think who said it? Tomiyasu. He said, it's with Arteta. It took us like a few weeks to get what he was saying, but it took us months to really understand it and integrate it into our play. And when we did, it was non-stop because no stopping us. But before that, it's very hard to try and get your head around and play the way that Arteta wants because there's so many different things. But on Kieran Tierney again, I think there's a story about when he was at Celtic and the left back there, Kieran Tierney got injured. The left back came in, took his spot, and Kieran Tierney couldn't get his spot. And he said to himself, I'm not giving up until I get my spot back. And he got his spot back and didn't miss a game for like 2 or 3 seasons. So I think it's just hot air and people putting 2 and 2 together and saying that Kieran Tierney's the top defender. Clubs will obviously be after him. He wants out. There's been no direct quotes that I've seen of Kieran Tierney saying that he's disgruntled or unhappy. I'm sure he's frustrated because as a footballer, you've got to be frustrated that you're not playing. But nah, when he lifts that Premier League trophy at the end of the season and he's going to be playing Champions League football next season, I doubt in the back of his mind that he's thinking, let's go somewhere else. He might be thinking, let's give it this season and then we'll see what happens after that. But I don't think he'll be thinking about anything else except for playing for Arsenal next season.
No, I'll be really gutted. Wouldn't you, Jerome, if he left?
Yeah, thinking about it more, I think that Arteta could have managed the situation better in terms of giving him some more minutes. And I think that the trouble is he obviously doesn't suit Plan A of how Arteta wants to play. And seeing Tierney come inside, like what Zinchenko does, it just doesn't suit him. It's like it's a square peg in a round hole. You're not using him to his strength. So I think that's a bit of a problem. But I wouldn't want to see him go unless like a ridiculous, like a silly bid come in. All the talk that's like 30 million, like that wouldn't advise like Tesco.
No. And Arsenal have looked after him as well, haven't they? Arsenal have looked after him as well, haven't they?
He's had a lot of injuries.
He's had a lot of injuries, and Arsenal have stood by him, haven't they?
Yeah. Also,
go on, mate.
Like he's the type of player, Tierney, that for the good of his body, he probably needs to be managed.
At a team like this,
he'd go to Newcastle, he'd play a few games, full pace, 90 minutes, and he'll get a big injury and he'll be out for 4 months. Like, it's for the good of his career if he's managed properly. But I would have liked to have seen him get a few more minutes and playing his natural game. But unfortunately, that conflicts a bit with how Arteta obviously wants to play.
How much do you think? Go on. How much do you think that our league position and our consistency has played its part in Tierney, like not getting that look in, like the manager not wanting to take a risk at all by keeping exactly the same team? And I know it's not much of a drop off, but when you're talking about you've got to change your style slightly to fit in Tierney, which is why he's probably gone for Tomiyasu over Tierney. Yeah,
it's a good point. But again, like all I was going to say, it's very quick. It was we were just sort of saying about Jack Grealish, but we've got someone already there who's not getting game time, who's had the perfect attitude, and that is Emil Smith-Rowe. Because he's saying, I don't want to go nowhere, I want to stay, I love this club, I don't care what I do, I want to fight for the club, I'm an Arsenal fan, and that's the attitude you want. Someone of that. He's an England international, and that's the type of attitude you want Tierney to want. And I want him to come out. If there's anything that's upsetting me about it that I don't like, I want to hear Tierney come out and say that. Like Emil Smith-Rowe has.
Because
the fans.
I think it's slightly different. I do get, because I think he should as well. I think he should, but I think it's slightly different when it's coming from a Hale-in boy.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah,
I think he also knows. He's also more self-aware. Like these youngsters, they're on the internet. They know when there's clubs after them. They know when there's people talking rubbish about them. They're thick-skinned like no one else is I've ever known. because they actually look through these messages. But I think he would be aware that with him being out, with people saying that Arsenal should potentially sell him, he felt the need to clarify that he ain't going nowhere. And it is good because as a fan, you want to hear that. You want to hear that every player that you like is saying he ain't going nowhere. If they could have an opportunity to stay at this club forever, they would. Those comments, they get the fans going. We love it. We lap it up. That's what we want to hear. That's why we get so upset when they're like toying with other clubs. Oh, you never know. We'll speak about it in a bit. You never know. At the moment, I'm at Arsenal. But Inter Milan, AC Milan, they like me. Yeah, bro.
Do you have any worries that you think about that he said? Because you look at it like, I mean, we look at players like Tommy Astu and Holding and Emil Smith Rowe and Vieira and Jorginho and Reece Nelson, and you're like, they ain't going nowhere. They'll sit on the bench. They love where we are.
Yes.
But Tierney, that's why I don't like with Tierney. I'm like, I need to see that from you, mate. I need to see you be like that because I'm not seeing that. And that because I love him, that worries me a bit. Do you know what I mean? That he's not happy, and I want him to be happy.
Yeah, it is. He's frustrated. He's definitely frustrated. He's a model professional. He's keeping his mouth shut. He did that interview after the Liverpool game, where the poor soul probably thought he was going to get the next game, and Tommy Asu came in again and actually had a stinker as well. So, and didn't get back into the team for a while. So I'm sure he's frustrated at moments like that. But he has been an excellent professional, and I hope that any time he comes on, he gets goals and assists because he deserves it. Comments from Gabriel Jesus. Essentially, we've got 10 cup finals to win the league. His comments come off the back of his injury, and his documentary is out. I'll be watching that and doing a review on that. He said, I was injured, and in my mind I was involved. He's talking about on the pitch. I was like, I need to talk. I need to try and help them with something by talking and seeing games. I think the most important thing was my mind. Keep it focused, keep it strong, and then come back fully fit. The fans have always been good to me, helping me, pushing me. The way they cheered last Sunday against Fulham was amazing. I'll never forget that. All I want is to give back to them on the pitch. Now I'm thinking, in my opinion, this is the best part of the season. When you have deciding games, big games as well, away games and home. Now is the time we have to play the same. Don't change, be together, and then we will see. The team are going so good. I think no one here is the main man. Everyone is together. When I got injured, we were sure Eddie could go on and help us, and he did. Leandro Trossard came in, and he did well as well. So everyone is together to be champions of this big competition. We have not only 11 players, we have a squad. Big words from Gabriel Jesus. I think the best line for me, which shows that he is experienced, he's been there, he's done it before, was the one where he says, now in my opinion, it's the best part of the season.
Yeah.
When you have the deciding games, big games, home, away, now is the time. We have to play the same. Do not change. Be together, and then we will see. Those lines there, do not change. He's focused. He knows what to do. He's been there before. It's not about second-guessing yourself. It's about staying focused. You know the way you play. Bang, 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 like robots. That's got cold-blooded. Steve, what's your thoughts on Gabriel Jesus' comments?
I think we're going to win the league, mate. But seriously, like as you were speaking, I'm like, we're going to win this, and I was just thinking how lucky we are. And you said it. He's not just saying these like to G up the players because this guy's been there. You know, he's done it. He's lifted the trophy. He's telling us, you know, the fans. He's telling obviously the players day in day out these things, and it's like he's just, just feeding us with this energy of just like, come on, we can do it. And he's just done that by making that comment. And so you can just imagine like the players with him in the dressing room. I mean, it's just fantastic. This guy is something else. I mean, it's hard to compare a player like this. I mean, it's you think of Arsenal players in the past. I can't fault this geezer. You look at the goals and he's dangerous. You think of Alexis Sanchez, but Gabriel Jesus, Alexis Sanchez does the same amount of work and running as he does. He's as clever as him, but he's likable and has a conscience. But with Alexis Sanchez, I think he lost a lot of fans at Arsenal after towards the end. But this guy's been there, he's done it, and you can just imagine Jesus, you can imagine Arteta, just saying these things over and over again to like the other guys. You can imagine Zinchenko just repeating the same words as Jesus in the dressing room, just time and time again. And you can just imagine the young kids just listening like goggle-eyed and just like thinking and coming onto the pitch and thinking, yeah, we can do this. Let's go. And he's saying like, it's right. We've got 10 games to go. We got 10 cup finals. We can go and win them all. And he's buzzing over it. And how important is he, to have him just come back in the team at just the right time. I mean, he's come back, just hit the ground running. And yeah, I mean, we've got 10 games to go, and having someone like this in the dressing room, he's made a different something, some kind of different material or something. He's an incredible player, and for 42 million, he's just just a snap, just nothing fee, just fantastic, mate. I could talk about him all day, just the importance of having him in the squad and, around the young players and just, getting them built up for these last 10 games. It's, 10 games to go. Nobody has lost the league at this point, in the last 10 years, apart from Liverpool. So that just shows you now, come on, let's go and do it. And I think with people like Jesus, Zinchenko and people in the dressing room that's done it, yeah, it's brilliant, mate. Love it. Love the words.
Shout out to Suja, all watching all the way from Maldives. Appreciate that. Suja, if you press that subscribe button, it's free. All right. Shout out. Come on, you Gunners. There you go. Jerome, what's your thoughts on Gabriel Jesus' comments? Something that could rile up the squad, get them going, keep them focused. Anyone that was sort of waning, any youngsters that have listened to that, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, like that comment of his that you highlighted, I think that's the one for me as well, where this time last season with 10 games to go, when there was quite a lot on the line, obviously in a different context, we, maybe there was some nerves from the players where for him, like this is basically the part of the season that he plays for. Like he's actually excited. Like it's a totally different attitude. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he's going to be speaking to all the boys and getting them excited for it as well. And so, like these few weeks coming up, this is what we all play for. Like it all comes down to this. Like, so hopefully they'll go in with the attitude, which will be a lot more positive. And Jesus literally leading from the front, like that is going to have a big ripple effect through the rest of the team. His attitude is spot on, really. Is
it time to bring him back into the starting lineup after the international break?
I'd like to see him start at Liverpool. Whether he starts at home to Leeds or not, I don't know. But I think for these big games, I think you need to have. I think he needs to start.
Go on.
Yeah.
Steve, would you like to see him start back up after the international break?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'd love him to play against Leeds. But I think we can beat Leeds without him, and just sort of manage his minutes. And probably when you think like sort of I mean, what a psychological boost. Do you know what I mean? For him to go out at Anfield to have his first full 90 minutes, and you never know, that could play in the minds of Liverpool. Jesus is back. All that the build up or something. Just say he's playing like on the day before, 2 days before. Jesus is going to make his first day. Let it start getting into their heads. Let it start like worrying. If he's playing against Leeds, it might give him time to sort of think, how are we going to sort him out? How should we mark him? Blah blah blah. But no, I agree. I think I'd obviously give him some minutes against Leeds, and then play him against Liverpool. And that's what I think I'd do, mate. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's good to have Jesus back. He's going to make a massive impact. He looked a bit short the other day, but prior to that, the game before when he first came on, he looked very, very sharp, and I'm sure he was giving every little ounce of energy that he had left in him. But yeah, no, Gabriel Jesus has been I mean, it sounds crazy, but he's not been a miss in some aspect, but he has in the others. And it'd be good to get him back to how he was playing before. Yeah.
What would you do, Kears? Would you bring him back? Liverpool or Leeds?
I'd give him about 20 minutes, half hour against Leeds. Probably about half hour against Leeds.
Yeah.
And then start him against Liverpool. Yeah. Ross says our European record for a club of our stature is a disgrace.
Disgrace.
I wouldn't go as far as to say a disgrace. I'd say in recent years it's not been great, but I wouldn't. A European record for a club of our stature that spends the amount of money that we actually spend is actually not bad. Under Arsene Wenger, we got to quarterfinals on multiple occasions, a couple of semi-finals and a final. If you're putting us up against clubs of an equal stature, I think our European record's pretty decent, if I'm honest.
When you look at clubs like Milan, didn't you? When you look at Milan,
if you look at the clubs that get to the finals,
they ain't been great. PSG, Milan, these clubs like this ain't great, are they?
Yeah, well, if you look at the clubs that were getting to the finals when Arsenal were there, Man United, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, they had the odd Inter Milan, but look at Inter Milan and when they won it and then they lost their heads. They lost their heads. It was out of the blue for Inter Milan to win it. Jose Mourinho is lauded for winning them the Champions League. If you look at the teams that win the Champions League, I think our record it's not the best, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a disgrace. Because I think that the other teams spend a lot of money on their teams, and I don't think Arsenal have done in the time that they've been in the Champions League. If you look at some of the squads, even the squad that got to the final, I bet you wouldn't even be able to name half that squad because it consists of Johan Giroud, Philip Senderos, a young Cesc Fabregas. So there's a lot of players in that team which you probably wouldn't expected to even be in a European Cup final.
They're hard things to win as well. They're hard things to win these competitions. Only one team can win them. Only 4 teams can get to the semi-finals of both competitions. It's a big ask. It's not like a Premier League or where it's different. I mean, I think most clubs will prioritise the Premier League, and I hope we do that next year as well. I hope we prioritise the Premier League over the Champions League if you ever come to it. If I'm going to pick one or the other, I want to win the Premier League again next season if we win it this season, or if we don't, I want to challenge for it again.
100%. And with the Champions League, it's again, let's not lose our heads if we get knocked out of the Champions League. The Champions League is not the Europa League. Yeah.
No.
You have to remember when you go into the Champions League, you're starting again. This ain't, we've been in Europe for the last 4 years, 5 years. No, you are starting again. You are one of the minnows. You're one of the little clubs. It's not the big Arsenal. it's new Arsenal in the Champions League. You start again. I've been there before. I've seen Arsenal win a European Cup, go into the Champions League, and it was like, what? It was a different world. It is a different world. You're facing a different level of player that's played in there every single season. Even the smaller teams, they are seasoned professionals in the Champions League. Clubs like Club Bruges, you might think, easy game. That'll be a tough game next season if we get a team like Club Bruges, because they've been in the Champions League consistently for how many years now. Yeah, and teams like that are the danger teams. And I
look at Seville.
Get through the group,
Seville. Yeah, Seville always winning bloody thing, aren't they?
Yeah, and we smashed them in the summer. Was it 6-0, 7-0? And okay, it was a friendly, but no one wants to get turned over 6-0, 7-0, friendly or not. So, it's going to be tough. And if we can get out the group stage next season, I'll be happy, because it's a stepping stone. And as long as we're in the Champions League the following season. News coming out that Martin Odegaard has been off. It will be in talks with Arsenal over a new deal that they want to keep him till 2030, Steve.
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's something that's they want to start talking about in the summer. It's they're sorting out Saliba's first, then Granit Xhaka's, and then Martin Odegaard being next. And to be quite truthful, it's not a rocket science one that this has come out, and that I was told about this. His contract runs out in 2025, so we're coming up to the end of the year of 2024. So they got to sit down with him and get this sorted out. And as what I've been told is they want to try and get him on a long-term deal until 2030. So it's exciting, and I mean, they want to tie this guy up on a long-term contract. So I mean, and that seems to be the thing now. These long-term contracts, excuse me, it could be just because of the fact that Arsenal are having FFP watching them and putting players on longer contracts. Especially the top players. Is the damn thing now, and it's a thing that you're going to see a lot of, especially in this summer window coming up, or people going on new contracts. You'll find that they'll be a lot longer than usual, especially from the clubs being watched. But I mean, I'm over the moon. I heard it. Definitely one of the greatest midfield players, sort of that this season in the Premier League, maybe in Europe. And I don't think this guy's even got more levels to come. I don't think he's finished. I think, what is he, 2024? Just get this guy tied up, and thankfully that's what they're going to do.
All right, Jerome. The prospect of having Martin Odegaard till 2030 is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think with all these sort of new contracts that have been signed or about to be signed, hopefully without jinxing it and just looking from the outside, this has probably got to be one of the easiest ones to tie up, considering he's the captain of the club, considering how he's been sent on loan a few different times and he wants the place to settle. Good point. Where's he gonna go? He's just come from Madrid. He's probably not going to go back there. He want to go to Barca. Not a lot of clubs would be able to afford him. I think he seems very settled as well, doesn't he? Like every time he speaks, he obviously gets on very well with the manager as well.
He wanted a home, didn't he?
It makes a lot of sense on so many levels.
Can I ask you both? Like, honestly, honest opinion. Did you think he'd be this good? Did you think that he would get to this? I mean, I to be honest with you, I'm starting to put him on the same wavelength with Dennis Bergkamp. I think he's still got a little way to go, but I suppose there's that little bit of surprise that he's this good. I don't know. I didn't really see too much of him as a youngster, so I couldn't really gauge a bar. All I did know is that this kid was a ridiculous talent, and there was a high bar to go. There was a lot more to get out of him, and then based off the back of his interview last season that he did about Mikel Arteta, when he spoke about him and Arteta have spoken about things that they're going to add to his game that you won't see next season, you see in 2 years' time. And I'm like,
What? What is that? What the hell are you cooking up, you two? So yeah, like he's. We've seen him what he's like now, and like you said, there's more to come because I think he's still playing in third gear, and there's 6 gears in this kid. Like, I don't think we've seen close to his best. I think there's more goals in him. I think there's more. Sometimes he could be more direct. I think he could take on players more. His skill level is ridiculous. Like he's one of them players as well that he does a skill that you might not see in the game, but then you'll watch Soccer Saturday and see a montage of his tricks all in one game. He's a joke. He's an absolute joke.
Do you know when at the end of his career? Sorry, Joe. When he gets towards the end of his career, I think he's going to be put in the lines of someone like a Pirlo or a Modric or
yeah, I agree. Tony Cruz, a Modric, a David Silva. He's got that. What we need to do is we need to make sure that Man City stay well away from him, because if they start sniffing about in a few years' time because they want a replacement for De Bruyne, I'll burn down the Etihad Stadium. Don't test me. I'll burn it down. Like, don't come anywhere near this guy. Jerome, Russ has got a question for you. What's Jerome think of Arsenal's European history?
So you know what? To be honest, apart from the Champions League, for me, all the other European titles, trophies that you can win, they're like the Carabao Cup equivalent, aren't they? So I'm not really fussed about how we've done in the Cup Winners' Cup or the UEFA Cup, the Europa League. Like, not interested in all those competitions. Our Champions League, for our recent history, we used to do quite well, didn't we? We used to always get out of the group.
Yeah.
And then you're mixing it with the big boys, and it's tough. Like, it's just such a difficult competition. We were super unlucky in that final against Barcelona. We were even more unlucky when Van Persie got sent off. We were unlucky when we got knocked out by Chelsea at Highbury in the second leg.
Those were our years, though. Those were the years that were our opportunities. Yeah. Once we started getting further down, like towards the end of Wenger's reigns, the Bayern Munich, like we're not even close to those teams. When we was in the final against Barcelona, we were regarded as one of the best teams in Europe.
Yeah,
that was not the case when it was against Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
I think if you get to, like, I mean, the Champions League, as you said, I agree with Jerome with what you said, that the other competitions is a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit. Let's play your squad players. Give our first teamers from the Premier League a rest. That is, to be fair, that is. Although you want to win it, and it's still when you get knocked out, you up. But the Champions League, I mean, if you can get the first thing you got to look at is a money thing. So especially when you're a top side at Arsenal, you think, well, that's more money for even bigger signings. You know, in the January or in. So you've got that behind you. You know, you get the if you can get to somewhere like the quarterfinals, and like you said, Kieran, you come up against the Bayern Munichs, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, the Manchester Cities, the Liverpools of this world. It's a lottery, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's a lottery, and if we get knocked out in a quarterfinal, it happens every year to the biggest clubs on the planet with more money than we'll ever know. So you have to, like, be sensible about it. If we got knocked out in the groups, then that'd be bad, I think, because we should easily get through the groups. But if you get to a quarterfinal, I'd be happy unless we played a really manky side and then got knocked out. But if you're playing one of the top teams, it's a lottery, and if we get knocked out, I wouldn't be that disappointed, to be fair.
I think like, and this isn't a slight on Arsenal, yeah, but Arsenal are not the biggest team in England. That's Man United. No. Next up is Liverpool. Yeah. So So, like, I do think that we need to remember, like, where we are, where we were. And even if you go back in history, and Russ is right, our history is not massive in Europe. Fairs Cup, Cup Winners' Cup. But the stature of the club itself, like, Arsenal built up to being that stature. Arsenal built up to being the big club that you recognise. They're not in terms of, like, beforehand, the global pool, the size of the club, the size of the stadium. We're not massive. We're big now because we put ourselves there. We're consistent in the league. We won leagues and stuff like that. But we're not, like, if you look at Liverpool, European Cup, and they've got a history of European Cup. So when they went out and they came back in it, it's like they already knew how they had to act, how they had to behave, the preparations. I think, like, the tea lady was probably there from when they won the European Cup back in the day. Those things stay in the club. Man United, the same. Those things stay in the club.
Yeah, because even when they were shite kids, they used to win the Champions League.
Thank you. And that's my point. Man United got relegated. They in the 80s. They were poor for a stint in the 80s, but they came back, and Europe was there again. They still had that stature of Europe. So I do feel like Arsenal are a club that once they win a Champions League, we're there. We're amongst the big boys, proper big boys again. Like, and we're there to stay. But I can't dig out Arsenal's European history when we're on that path to building it. Those years with Arsene Wenger where we're consistently getting into the quarterfinals, where we got into a final, got into semis. Those were the years of building up to the stature to say that Arsenal were a part of this, and we kind of fell off. So yeah, I think if we would have invested more, if we would have carried on putting some decent money into their squad, we could have maybe won that European Cup, so we can say and have a history in Europe. But we ain't. The history in Europe that we have, I was probably born for most of it, which is crazy. Like Cup Winners' Cup, I watched that final, like against Parma. And people dismiss the Cup Winners' Cup, but look at the teams we had to play on the way. Paris Saint-Germain. Like, people don't know these. Like, people know the teams. But Paris Saint-Germain weren't the greatest of teams there, but look at the squad they had. David Ginola was in that squad. They had a 6 squad. Parma in the final. Zola, Tino Asprilla. Like, Chiesa was in that team. Like, that's a ridiculous team. So, good question, though, Russ. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. On that note, we're 7 minutes gone past. That is all we have time for. Oh, shoulder. That is all we have time for. Thank you for everyone who's joined us tonight. Thank you, Sujay, all the way from Maldives. Appreciate your support. Press that subscribe button. Thank you, Russ, for joining us tonight. Appreciate your questions. Thank you for joining us tonight, Jerome.
Yeah, cool. Cheers. Thanks, boys.
And thanks for joining us tonight, Steve.
Pleasure as always, mate. Cheers.
If you're a regular to the show, you know what to do. Press that like and press that share button. You only have to press the copy button. That's all you've got to do. Cheers, Russ. And if you are new to the show, press that subscribe button, press that like, and go and press the copy button as well. Why not? All right. Peace out, people. Sujay, make sure you share it with all your friends in the Maldives and come and join us every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. All right. Peace out, people. Stay safe. Don't do this to me. And wash your hands.